most excited to see now that the NBA is officially back?
Well, I'm going to do something that I rarely do when Chris Broussard is here, which is I'm going to be the first person on the show to bring up LeBron James. Because if I'm being totally honest here, what I am most excited for is the return of playoff LeBron. Because we missed out on it last year. We've now had it delayed this year. And so if I can remind the audience, the last time we saw playoff LeBron was 2018, when over the course of that playoffs, despite it being an undermanned and totally out of sync Cavs roster, he averaged 34, 9, and 9 for the playoffs, had 2 game winners, and had one of the greatest individual games anyone's ever played in Game 1 of the NBA Finals when he had the 51, 8, and 8. The year before that, playoff LeBron averaged a 35-point triple-double in the NBA Finals against arguably the most talented offensive team ever put together. And the year before that, playoff LeBron executed the greatest comeback in NBA history with the greatest 3-game stretch by any singular player in NBA history. Last year, a torn groin and some underachieving younger players prevented us from seeing playoff LeBron. This year, I thought a pandemic might prevent us from seeing playoff LeBron. But July 31st, the NBA comes back, which means right around August 15th, we will once again get the single greatest show in sports, Kevin Wildes, which is LeBron James in the playoffs. So I'd be remiss if I didn't say that's what I personally am most excited to see now that we have an official date for the NBA's return.
Well, I think America's shocked to hear you say you're excited to see playoff LeBron, Nick. So we'll just have everybody take a deep breath. Nick wants to see playoff LeBron, everybody. Broussard, here's what I like. You know, for excitement, you need suspense. You need mystery. And like Nick says, LeBron's been to the finals 8 of the last 9 years. He'll be there. The Bucks got a point differential of 11.3. It's the 5th best all time. They'll be there. So the question is, who might be there? I'll show you a tweet that came out last week. It's from Fred Katz, who writes for The Athletic, quoting John Wall, who's on a conference call. I'm 110%. I'm healthy. And then Fred says, I'll answer the follow-up, since he and the organization have said it 392 times. No, he does not plan on coming back. But then, boom, the other day, Ian Begley comes in. Hey, Wizards and John Wall both said he's not going to return. But some Eastern Conference teams expecting to head to Orlando are planning as if Wall may return to the court once the season resumes. Wall's been sidelined since December 2018. So now, is John Wall coming back? He says he's 110%. And then there's this guy, Broussard, looking good. I saw him riding a bike on Instagram the other day. I don't know if he's coming back. Some numbers in, Fox Bet has got the Nets championship. If you want to get on Fox Bet, like Nick Wright, prognosticators, that line is moving up a little bit, which makes me think that maybe Durant and Kyrie are coming back, Broussard. So I'm most excited about actually what I don't know, where some of my favorite players are going to be back on the court this year.
Well, Nick stole all of my material, so I have nothing to say. No, I'm with you, Wildes. It's all about Kevin Durant. With all due respect to John Wall, I am so excited to see if Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving come back. Now, if they do, Brooklyn would by no means be the favorite in the Eastern Conference, but you could not write them off because everybody in the East is flawed. Milwaukee's got one superstar. Boston is young. Toronto has no superstars. Philadelphia is immature. Miami, they are what they are. They're not winning a championship. Brooklyn would be stacked and have a shot. I'm, again, not a favorite. I wouldn't necessarily pick them, but they'd have a shot. And if they could get to the finals somehow, it would be one of the most incredible stories that we have seen. And oh, what a finals if they face, say, the Lakers. Kevin Durant is obsessed with being perceived as better than LeBron James. He went against LeBron and beat him in Golden State, but everybody said, of course you beat him. You went to the 73-win Warriors. So he didn't get the credit necessarily for that. This time, if he met LeBron, it would be even. LeBron's got AD. KD would have Kyrie. It'd be a great matchup. And don't forget, Kyrie against LeBron. That would be exciting as well. Storylines would abound. It might be fantasy, But I am just watching that. That would be the most exciting thing we could ever hope for.
So let me jump in here on the Kevin Durant stuff, because I've been very adamant and consistent that I think it's unfair, even though it will have been 400 days, to put this pressure on KD to step right into a playoff atmosphere. And I still think it's unfair to put any outside pressure on him. However, now that we know there's 8 regular season games that are going to be played before you actually have the playoff atmosphere, to me, that does open the window at least slightly more that KD might give it a shot. Because he won't have to have, if they went right to the playoffs, it would be Kevin Durant coming off an injury in a playoff game against the Toronto Raptors, 2-7. That just felt like a ridiculous ask for him. But if you've got 2 weeks where he can kind of ease himself in, where he can play the first games of his life with Kyrie Irving as a teammate, that does become a possibility. Now, I'd like to talk to some doctors about, even if KD could have always been ready by mid-August, if he was always targeting to be ready by mid-October, does that mean the rehab would have been done differently? Does that mean that maybe if they would have known this was coming, they would have done a different type of ramping him up that they weren't doing because they didn't know the league year was going to pause for 3 months? I don't know those things, but because it's an 8-game, not warm-up, but an 8-game regular season before we get to the playoffs, Jenna, I do think it becomes more possible that Kevin Durant comes back, in which case Kevin Durant and Kyrie will get the privilege of losing to Giannis and the Bucks, but it'd be good to have them have a playoff run together.
That's interesting. The timing of his rehab might have changed had they known the way this season was going to play out. Haven't thought about that. But Wildes, I want to ask you another angle here. So the season starts up July 31st. Everything is now going to get pushed back. How does that affect some of the big NBA dates now moving forward?
Oh, Jenna, I went on old calendar, it's called, and spent the last 3 days trying to figure everything out. And we made some full screens for everybody. I think this represents a fundamental shift in the American sports calendar, and there's millions of dollars at stakes, and the Olympics are at stakes. There's tons of stuff happening. So here's what we know. Season stopped March 11th. It's going to restart July 31st. Game 7 of the NBA Finals, if it happens, which is known as the latest possible date of the season, is October 12th. Opening tip of next season, December 1st. That's an asterisk, though, because when Michelle Roberts heard that, she was like, hold on, what? That you can't put that on a press release. That's a collectively bargain. So that date might move. Okay, so here's why you need to know, if you can move on to the next full screen. When Kawhi Leonard got that trophy June 13th, then he chilled for 131 days. He did the New Balance commercial. He took some shots at LeBron. Now look at this. Kawhi beats LeBron October 22nd. He chills for 131 days. Well, according to this new schedule, that's not what we would have. It would be totally different. Let's move on again. Bingo. Tale of 2 off seasons. Trae Young hasn't played a game since March 11th. So he's going to go 265 days between games. LeBron, if he goes to Game 7, Nick, I know you probably got him in 3 famously, but he would only have 50 days, and that's between games. We're not talking about preseason. We're not talking about the opening of training camp. So is this the new normal? 244 days is the length of the 2019 season. Now, why is that important? That was extra long because, remember, we tried to eliminate back-to-backs and 2 games in 3 days and all that stuff. So that's a player health issue, 244. December 1st, which is the proposed restart, plus 244 would put us on August 2nd, 2021, which makes you think like, okay, that sounds good. But I think that December 1st date, Nick, is going to move back. I think Michelle Roberts is going to be like, you can't have LeBron and possibly Giannis coming back in 50 days. So what do? Do you move that date back? You can't move too far back into August because no one watches TV in August. And I know you're saying like, hey, everybody will watch the finals. Not really. 30 million people watch the finals. Only 3 million people watch opening night. So it's very different. One thing that Woj floated out is that next season is shortened. Well, there's been a lot of talk about that. So if next season gets shortened, Nick, maybe where's the money come from? Oh, another play-in game that we're seeing. becomes a reality, just like football, create a new playoff game, give that to the network so they can make up some money, and the players can make up some money. So that's how I think it could play out.
Listen, I think you raised some excellent points, and there are concerns. The most notable concern is the massive layoff for the teams that are not part of the 22 teams being invited to Orlando versus the tiny layoff for the very best teams in basketball, the teams that are going to make the conference and then the NBA finals. But to me, that's a one-off, and you're just going to have to deal with that. That's going to be added collateral damage due to the coronavirus. But I do think this new calendar is the calendar that makes the most sense, whether it's December 1st, December 15th, or a season that starts on Christmas. A start in December and end of the season in August, have free agency wrap up right before the NFL kicks off, and then seed the calendar to the NFL for September, October, November, and part of December, and then go for the next 8.5 months. Broussard, I think that makes the most sense financially, logistically, and as a sports fan, I think it makes the most sense for us if that is the NBA calendar moving forward.
Well, I had flashbacks to college calculus class watching Wildes with all those numbers. But I tell you what, I don't like that short break. I get what Michelle Roberts is saying. I mean, LeBron James getting what? 50, if he makes the finals, how much time is he going to have to rest before the start of the next season? That is just entirely too short. He's a guy, he's older. You don't want him risking injury because he only had a short break. I'm not so concerned about the 8 teams that aren't playing in this, 22-team format. They'll have time to practice and get ready. I know it's a long break, but they can deal with it. Most of them are younger teams anyway. They'll have time to practice and get ready for the upcoming season. I think they push it back to Christmas Day, and then we go from there. Nick, I hear what you're saying. I think it's something they should give a try and experiment. But there are a lot of other things to look at. Number one, do players really want to give up their summer months? Now, we say, they can go on their Caribbean vacations, European vacations in the fall, which is true, but they can't go on them with their kids. They can go on them with their wives and their girlfriends, but with their kids, they'll be in school in the fall. So those are things you have to look for as far as whether or not players really want to go ahead and play through the summer. And then, of course, television, people stop watching as much television in the summer months because they're outside. I don't know if that's changed now with new technology and the phones, but that's something we have to look at as well.
Real quick, I know everyone's talking about Christmas. I think everyone would love a Christmas return. Christmas is an ESPN thing. I think everybody would love it except the people at Turner who have the opening night rights. So I'd be shocked if Turner ceded those rights so to sort of give ESPN a double whammy of Christmas and opening night. I think that's worth a lot of money to Turner. I think whatever's going to happen, the season will start on a Tuesday or a Thursday. There will be a Turner game. So I'm not buying Christmas, although it would be awesome.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.